my name's Molly and today I'm going to be discussing what happened to Jesy Nelson and why I think that the media is to blame. But before we get started, if you wouldn't mind smashing that like button and also pressing that subscribe button and the notifications so that you get notified when I upload more videos like this, and I do a lot of videos on mental health as well. So let's get started. In case anybody doesn't know or have been living under a rock, Jesy Nelson was one member of a 4-member girl band. They rose to fame on X Factor, where they applied as separate individuals and were kind of smushed together to make one girl band, and they ended up going on and winning and being one of the most successful girl bands of our time. Now, Jesy Nelson has been involved in a lot of media and controversy of late, and probably for the past few years in general. And I'm going to be discussing today her rise and fall, and I'm going to be splitting it into 4 parts. Part 1, unachievable beauty standards. Part 2, trolls. Part 3, false illusion of mental health awareness. And part 4, the media machine. Jesy will have grown up like all of us, surrounded by unrealistic beauty standards thrown in our face constantly. But then you couple that with the fact that she was on X Factor, fast rise to fame, thrown next to 3 girls that she was constantly being compared to, being called the fat one, the ugly one, the one that's not attractive. You have to look at the fact that she had pressures that we all have anyway, and then on top of that she had all of this stress and all of this negativity and comments being thrown at her. At the same time, she was only a young girl, so you've got somebody who was already insecure, she's admitted that herself anyway, and then she's next to these 3 girls that she's probably constantly comparing herself to anyway, because that's how we are brought up. We're brought up to constantly be comparing and critiquing ourselves compared to other people. And then she had all those comments and all that other pressure that comes with being famous. And that was the perfect storm to basically cause her to be completely unhappy in the way she looked, have low self-esteem, body dysmorphia. Think about the pressure that you might feel, and then imagine feeling that pressure in front of thousands of people. The pressure is bound to build up, and you're bound to feel worse and worse about yourself as the days, weeks, months, years go on. That's exactly what happened in the case of Jesy Nelson, and I think that it's easy for us to assume that somebody, once they become famous, they don't feel the same as we feel, or it doesn't matter because they've got money. At the end of the day, whether you're famous and you've got money, it doesn't mean that you're going to feel any less upset by comments that are thrown at you or any less insecure. It's just that in the case of Jesy, she did have money there, and she used that money, like a lot of people do, especially celebrities, to get work done, to go up. She was on yo-yo diet, exercising constantly by her own admission, and this didn't lead to her feeling any better about herself, because the comments continued. No matter what work she had done, loving yourself and being happy with how you are and how you look, that has to come from within. So it doesn't matter how much work somebody gets done. At the end of the day, if they've got no confidence and they're constantly comparing themselves, they are never going to feel any better about themselves. And that is what happened, unfortunately, in the case of Jesy. She couldn't get past those comments, she couldn't get past the image that she had of herself. And that leads us on to point 2, trolls. So in my opinion, you've got 2 types of trolls. That's 4. 2. You've got 2 types of trolls. You've got the troll that has absolutely no connection with the words that they are, the hate that they're spreading. They've got no emotional connection whatsoever to what they're saying. They can say anything about any topic, it doesn't matter how sensitive it is. They just want to spread hate regardless, and they don't feel anything from the words that they're saying, because most of the time they don't even believe it anyway. They just get a kick out of spreading the hate. And then you've got the trolls where everything that they say comes from a place of hate or a place of jealousy or a place of low self-esteem themselves, and they will use the internet and they will use words to hurt other people because it reflects the hate that they might be feeling, which is still wrong. There's no excuse for it. A troll is a troll. The beauty industry and the media have basically armed them with the perfect ammo. You've got millions of people who feel inadequate, self-conscious, not good enough, have so many insecurities about themselves, and all the troll has to do is pick up on that one insecurity that you might have and then just throw it at you. They probably don't even believe what they're saying, but as long as they know that insecurity is there, they are going to use it. And unfortunately, that was what happened with Jesy. So no matter how much weight she lost, no matter how much work she had done, she would always still receive the fat comments, the ugly comments. The people that are doing these comments and that are saying these things are saying them to upset you, they're saying them to hurt you, and they're using your insecurities. And as long as they knew that she had those insecurities, it didn't matter what she looked like, it didn't matter what she had done, they would still use the comments and they would still say the things that they were going to say, which meant that no matter what Jesy did, she was still receiving the hate in the comments. An example of this is she made a comment on her documentary that we're going to get into in a minute, where she said that she had worked so hard to lose as much weight as possible because she just could not, she just hated the fact that she was always called the fat one. She couldn't deal with the fact that people were out there saying things about her weight and comparing it to the other girls. So she lost so much weight, and when she returned to do the X Factor show a few years after winning, she was just, all she could think about was the fact that people were not going to say she was fat because she wasn't fat and she'd lost all this weight. And as soon as she did the performance, even though that was all she cared about, was the next day, and she's seen headlines and comments from other known celebrities. We won't even mention names because she doesn't, the person that made the comment doesn't even deserve to be mentioned in my video, but basically still calling her fat. And if you can imagine how awful that must have been, and some people will say it's just, why does she care, why? But as humans, as people with emotions, no matter what we say, people's comments hurt. And yeah, we should just be able to shrug them off and get on with it. But if we're being realistic, if we're really being honest with ourselves, how many people do you think actually are able to just shrug off comments like that? Especially when the comments that are being made are about a deep-rooted issue that you have about yourself. So number 3, the false sense of mental health awareness. Now, Jesy had brought out a documentary a couple of years ago, and it was based around her mental health struggle, the issues that she'd had while being in Little Mix and being on X Factor, and it mostly had positive reviews. It had had outcry of support. People felt like they understood more, people felt like they were more aware. She really gave a raw picture of exactly how she had been feeling, and the media were all on her side. It was very mental health orientated, a lot of press relating to body positivity and about trolls and bullying and social media. So there was a lot of general support towards Jesy. And then what happened always happened, and the comments started changing, and we had more comments like, why hasn't she got over this by now? Why is she still going on about it? Is she doing it for attention? You know, she needs to just get over it. Maybe she's just miserable. And then that leads me on to my final point and the most important one, and this is the media machine. There's 2 reasons why the tide started to change with the public support towards Jesy. Number 1, because of trends, and number 2 is just down to the media. At the time when the documentary came out, it was popular to be supporting Jesy, it was popular to be talking about mental health, it was popular and it was trending. The 24-hour news cycle, the fast-paced environment that we live in, there's always a new story, there's always something to be making more money on, there's always something to be getting excited over, and it's this constant need for new stories, new headlines, new drama. Now, it was popular and it was trending to be supporting Jesy until it wasn't. And then the media then started to release other stories. Now, on the surface, they might not have been particularly negative, but you only have to read between the lines, and a lot of people are media led. I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you have been led by the media or your opinions do come from the media, because it's everywhere, it's all around us, it's constantly in our faces. There's no way to get away from it really, even if you don't have a phone, other people are talking about it. So this is not a blame game, this is more of a awareness, awakening, making you realise, just look a bit deeper sometimes. I've all seen articles and magazine covers before where on the surface of it, it's a comment like, beautiful XYZ bravely wears bikini on beach. And on the surface, the actual headline and what they say in the article isn't particularly negative, but the images that they put out of that celebrity are negative. Now, some people might say that's a good thing because it makes people realise that nobody's perfect, and yes, I agree on that part, but my point is the media are very clever in the way they put these stories out, so they won't necessarily say anything negative, but the negative connotation still comes with it, and when you read that magazine, you're not thinking, oh, how beautiful, you're thinking, oh, that's a really bad picture. And not everybody will think that. I don't think that when I look at the pictures. What I do think though is the media's done that on purpose. That you can see right through it, but not everybody can. Now, that were coming out about Jesy, they may not have been on the surface completely negative, but they were going more in a negative direction. And the more stories they released, the more people start to talk, because there's always something that people want to be talking about. And eventually there was a big feeling of she kind of brought it on herself. Maybe she's actually not a nice person. Maybe she's causing trouble within the band. Maybe the other girls don't like her. And some of you might not believe that, but that is exactly what happened. And there is countless articles bringing out headlines and information that would in turn start to change the tide towards people being all supporting and all for Jesy to starting to go the other way. Now, you might wonder, well, why would they do that? Now, that's where it gets interesting. Now, the media, and when I'm saying media, I'm just talking about in general, like it's a massive, machine. That's like the media machine. It is huge. There's so many people involved, but they know so much. They've got eyes and ears everywhere. Now, it is a known fact that littlemix were planning on coming to a natural break. Now, it wasn't really talked about, but the other girls had mentioned going on to do separate projects themselves. 2 of them are now pregnant anyway and will be having babies and starting a family. They've been doing this for 10 years. And you've got on the other side of that, you had Jesy, who's really struggling with her mental health. It wouldn't have come as much of a surprise if in 6 months' time they'd have all came out and said, okay, we are going to be splitting up or we're going to be taking a break. Now, that would have been a massive story, but it would have just been one story. Now, what happened instead was we had the Jesy documentary, we had the outcry of love and support, all of the media that was around that. Then we slowly start to get the negative stories, the trickling of information, changing the tides. Is there a problem in the band? Is Jesy causing issues? Which then got people talking. Then, before it had even been released that Jesy had planned to leave the band, it was leaked to the press, and there was articles speculating that she was going to leave, speculating that she had caused too much trouble, so she was going to be leaving the band, that she was splitting the band up, that the band was coming to an end because of Jesy, which then got a lot of people really upset. Some people who, support the group and have been following them were really upset because they didn't want her to leave. Other people were angry because they felt like she had destroyed the band and they thought she was being selfish. Obviously, a lot of this was media ran. People don't realise that their opinions so often come from the information that is fed to them on a daily basis. Even if they're not looking for it, the articles are there, your brain's constantly taking information in. You can change your opinion on something solely based off things that you scroll past and barely even read, and you don't even realise that it's happened. So in this case, you had an outcry of, is she going to leave? Is she leaving the band? Is the band going to split up? Even more media attention. Media attention equals money, equals more articles, equals more interest. So then after that, we obviously get the news that she's left. Now, instead of there just being one event and littlemix had decided to go their separate ways at the end of the year, starting families, going on different projects, it ended in this media storm of constant stories. There's still, even today, a few hours ago, more information, more stories broke about Jesy. Now, the only people that are gaining anything from this is the media machine. And when you actually think about it, the media machine are the ones that have caused the entire issue in the first place. Now, you have Jesy, who was in a girl band, obviously in the media, she's in front of the public, she is suffering with lack of confidence, body dysmorphia, all things that are fueled by the media and the unreachable beauty standards that are laid out for us that we are supposed to meet, and if we don't meet them, then we're not good enough or we're not pretty enough. So the media, in effect, were to blame for how Jesy was feeling in the first place. They're the ones that share the stories, they're the ones that have created this awful beauty standard that everybody thinks that they have to live up to. They then managed to make money off Jesy's mental health that they had caused through her documentary, through all the publicity around that. They then were able to use Jesy's situation, and at the end of the day, a vulnerable situation, to make further money by having all of the other stories, starting this media storm around whether she was going to leave, whether it was her fault the band were going to split up, then making money off the fact that the band split up, and now they're still making more money with these stories that can attach to the fact that the band has split up. Now, none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for the media. None of the money that they've made would have been possible if it wasn't for the things that they had done and the things that they had set in place. You might think this sounds like a conspiracy, or all of this would have happened anyway, but if you actually think about it, this happens time and time again. How many celebrities, especially young celebrities, do you see having, it's the train wreck? And another example, Britney Spears, they built her up, she was on top of the world, they were getting all the stories from the fact that she was just famous and everybody wanted to know her, and once that dies down and they need more stories, they then hounded that woman until she reached her breaking point, and then they made millions off her in that breaking point. It's the constant rise and fall, and they're always behind the rise and they're always behind the fall of these people. And some would say, well, it just comes along with being famous, or it comes along with the job, but it shouldn't, because regardless of if you are famous or not, you are a human being, and it also has an effect on society as a whole, on how we view people, how we view mental health, how we view ourselves, how we view how pretty we think we are, how worthy we think we are. The media has control over almost every aspect of our life. It has control over how we think we should be living our life, what we think we should be doing to make us happy. And Jesy, unfortunately, is just another victim of the media machine that we know today, and the unrealistic beauty standards and social constructs that we are supposed to follow. And anybody who sent her hate, anybody who called her names, made comments about the way she looked, anybody who sent hate towards Jesy Nelson also fell victim to the media machine and the toxic culture of media today. And let's be honest, it's always been this way, but it's so much bigger now. You've got more access to it, it's in our faces constantly, it's technology, it's constant programmes and stories and a 24-hour news cycle. Unfortunately, until people start noticing that this is not normal, and noticing between the lines and the way the media works, and realising just because you read 5 stories from 5 different news articles saying that Jesy, or insert anybody, any celebrity, any influencer, anybody that the papers can be bothered enough to write about, if you read that information about them, just remember, you don't know that person. So it doesn't matter how many stories you read about them, those stories are written by other people that also don't know that person this way. You sitting in front of the camera or laptop or wherever you're watching this on now, think about all of the battles that you fight on a daily basis, all the problems that you've had in your life, the arguments, the illnesses, the struggles, the stresses. Now, if I was to speak to you, I wouldn't know all of those battles that you are fighting. I would only see what's on the surface. And we need to remember that celebrities and people that are in the limelight, that are out there on social media, influencers, we only see the surface of that person. We don't know them. We don't know what they're struggling with. We don't know what they're going through. And if you're only getting your information from the papers and the magazines, who also don't know that person, how can we ever actually know what they're saying and what they're spreading is true? And we have to think about, is there an alternative motive? So next time you're reading an article about somebody and you're getting information and you are thinking about how it makes you feel or whether it's changed your opinion about that person, try to just think, is there an alternative motive? this doesn't have to keep happening. We don't have to keep seeing this rise and fall constant cycle all the time, but we are obsessed with seeing people crash and burn, and the media knows that. And the more that we read the stories, the more that we look for the stories, the more that we eat up other people's misfortune and downfall, it's only going to continue. And it's only because of our own insecurities that are put on us by the media, by the beauty industries, that we want to see these people in these unfortunate positions, because it is difficult as a person living in today's society to see somebody who we ourselves feel jealous of, we ourselves are comparing ourselves to, we ourselves are putting them on a pedestal, and because it makes us feel bad, we then don't feel that bad when that person ends up crashing and burning. And it's not coming from a point of purposeful hate, it's instilled in us constantly from a young age, and it's a hard thing to admit. And I'm not saying everybody like this, I'm not even saying that the people who are bad people. I'm just asking you to be more aware. We need to stop the hate, we need to stop the dragging each other down. If we build each other up, imagine what we could achieve. Mental health is a serious issue, not because the media has told you it is, not because it's Mental Health Awareness Month and it's good to talk about and it sells articles. Mental health is important always. It's a 365-day-a-year problem, and it doesn't go away when the media stops writing stories about it. But the more the media writes stories, the worse mental health is becoming. I just want people to realise that the more we listen to these negative articles, the more we make comments about how other people look, or other people's appearance, or other people's lives that we know nothing about, the more we're given into this. People say all the time, I get people saying it to me all the time, that this is an awful world we live in, but why can't we be the change? The media is in control of a lot of what we say and a lot of what we do, but we're in control of the message that we put out, we're in control of how we treat people, we're in control of the news that we spread, the information that we spread. So if you are sharing information about somebody that you don't know, just try to think for a minute, is there an alternative motive behind the story? How do I know this is true? What's the other side to the story that I'm reading? And how would I feel if somebody was spreading this about me? And I guarantee it'll make you think twice about sharing it. So that was everything I wanted to discuss today. I know it wasn't particularly positive, but I really do think that if we can change how we interpret this information that's given to us and how we share the information that's given to us, we can make a difference, and it won't happen all at once. But please remember that there's thousands of Jesy Nelsons out there, and it could be you, or it could be your sister, it could be your friend. Anybody can fall victim to the social media machine, and we have to try and fight against it. Okay, so that's everything today. Sorry, it was a bit of a serious one. If you did enjoy this, then please smash the like button. If you'd like to see more of these videos, and I also do a lot of mental health videos as well. If you've got any suggestions of other videos or other topics that you want me to go over, please leave a comment down below. And I'd really love it if we could get a discussion and people's opinions. Just remember, keep it positive. And if you want to follow me on social media, I will leave them up on the screen now. And I do a lot of mental health work over on my Instagram, and I'm on TikTok as well under the same name. I hope that you're having a lovely day, night or evening, wherever that you are, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!